I am an equal opportunity burger aficionado. And while I think smash burgers are king, fat burgers need loving too. And I'm gonna show you the new way to do it. This is the sizzling cheeseburger. To get started, we're gonna need a little bacon. I got 4 strips here. I'm gonna throw them on a sheet tray. I'm gonna pop them into the oven, cold, and then turn the oven on to 375 and allow those to slowly get crisp. We'll flip them a little bit. Next up, we need caramelized onions. So we have an onion. Take the top off, cut it in half, and with the open half, we're just gonna slice them into thin strips. And to cook them, just need a little bit of butter and some oil. So in a saute pan or saucier over medium-high heat, we're gonna add a knob of butter and a glug of olive oil, and once it's hot, we're gonna add in the sliced onions. Season them with salt and break them up. We're gonna saute them hot and fast just to kickstart the process. Once we see that onion start to slightly brown, I'm gonna knock the heat down a bit and begin to slowly caramelize the onions. They're gonna start off white and in phases gradually darken into a deep caramel color. While the onions cook, our bacon should be ready to flip. We're just gonna turn them, make sure they brown nice and evenly, then back into the oven to finish cooking. Now you can cook these onions for an hour or 7 hours. It really comes down to how patient you want to be and how caramelized you really want them. The longer you cook them, the more jammy they become. But I like them slightly charred and roasty for a savory flavor and a little soft and caramelized for the sweetness. A little bit of the best of both worlds, in my opinion. Those look good, we can set them off to the side. Got our perfectly crisp bacon. Just gonna allow that to cool for a minute, and then we're gonna dice that up real fine into almost like a crumble that we're going to sort of distribute onto the cheese and the burger at the end. Once they're nicely chopped, get them into a bowl. The bacon's ready to go. Now you just saw me use all sorts of made-in products, but to cook this burger, we're gonna be using the carbon steel griddle thanks to our sponsor today, Made In. You've seen me use the carbon steel griddle many times along with their griddle press. It sits on my stove all the time. It looks great. It's a core piece of cooking gear for me. It's heat safe up to 1200 degrees, so it can be used on outdoor grills, over an open flame, or even indoor on a gas, electric, or induction cooktop. And for a recipe like this, that carbon steel flat top really helps form an amazing crust on the burgers. The griddle is pre-seasoned and naturally non-stick, ready to start using right out of the box without any chemicals or coatings. And just like cast iron, as you use it and season your carbon steel pan, it will develop more of a naturally non-stick surface. And what's great about it being on the stovetop is it covers 2 burners. It actually maximizes cooking space in your stove. That space in between burners now can be used to cook with. And it's got these sort of flared up walls that keep all the fat and juices in there so they don't go running onto your stove. What more could you ask for? And while you can make this recipe without one, if you're looking to get your hands on one or any of Made In's amazing products, they have everything. Check out the link in my description. Now let's get on to the patties. Now this sizzling cheeseburger on a sizzling skillet is inspired by a place called American Diner Andra in Tokyo. But at the heart of my version of it is a thick and juicy burger that we intend to show love to. And what that means is grinding our own special burger blend. Wanna know my burger blend? Short rib, veal, and bone marrow. There's a legendary burger spot in my hometown, and I kind of finagled the secret to it, which I never knew before, which was the addition of veal. It adds a tenderness to it the same way it would a meatball. And with grinding everything cold is better. Now the first thing I wanna do is extract my bone marrow, which is adding to the 75-35 fat to meat ratio I'm trying to achieve. So I'm just gonna find where that bone marrow is right there. You can see it. It's the pale part in the center. With a butter knife, I'm just gonna start to kind of finagle it out of its hole. And of course, you can save these bones and make a stock with them. Now, based on the ratio that I worked out, I'm going to be using 20 ounces of the meat. So if I want 25% fat, that's about 6 ounces. Depending on the bones you get, you might be able to get an ounce out of one, a little more, a little less. So it should be about 6 bones you're gonna need to get that amount. Then we've got our short rib. We're just gonna cut them into thinner pieces, but I still like them as strips. They just feed through the hopper a little bit easier. So we're gonna need 10 ounces of the short rib and then 10 ounces of the veal. Now I just wanna pop this in the freezer for like 10 minutes just to get that chill back onto that fat, just so it doesn't melt when it gets pushed through the hopper. So like I said, everything's gotta be cold. That's including the grinder. This guy just works in a KitchenAid. Got a little sheet tray with some parchment on it to catch the ground meat. Now we can start to grind it. I'm gonna alternate, like the veal, a little bit of the fat, And then finally, the longer strands of the beef that kind of push it all through. Now you want to remember to cut the pieces of meat thin enough to fit in the hopper. I also prefer to use the finest grind head on my machine. Some like it more coarse. I prefer it more fine. That's up to you. Then save the longest piece of meat till the end. It just kind of pulls itself through the grinder, helping to avoid anything getting stuck in the machine. Then mix up the ground meat and then let that sit in the fridge to firm up for about 20 minutes. Now while that chills, we can measure out our cheese for our cheese sauce. Our cheese sauce is going to consist of 4 things: milk, American cheese, cheddar cheese, Dijon mustard. That Dijon is gonna sort of mimic the mustard you might put on the burger itself, but in the cheese sauce, adds a nice little Now for any basic cheese sauce, sharp cheddar is gonna bring the flavor, American cheese is gonna bring the creaminess. And so we need 4 ounces of the cheddar, and we're gonna need some American cheese. Again, 4 ounces. 8 ounces of cheese in total. For some garnish, I'm gonna go with some chive, right? Now this is kinda nice because it's already bundled up. Just gonna pull out some of the bad ones, cut off the rough edges. We just wanna finely dice them. You don't wanna push down when you're cutting a green like this, a delicate green. You wanna push forward. And get those into a bowl. Just so they don't dry out, I put a little damp paper towel over top. I'm gonna set these off in the fridge until we're ready to use them. So now our meat is chilled, we're gonna start to form it into patties. Got some, little squares of parchment and a parchment to work on. So you don't have to weigh, you can sort of just divide it up, ball it, but I'm going for some fat, juicy burgers here. It's about 8 ounces, and then with my hands, I'm gonna just start to form. I'm gonna go around and sort of just create an edge with my palm, squeezing with my hand to sort of spread it out. I want it to be roughly a little bit bigger than the bun. And a lot of people like indent the inside. I just very subtly do so. I don't wanna really have any pocket that won't brown. Just sort of smooth it out with your fingers. Make sure there's no real cracks, just like you would with a meatball. That's a 10-ounce patty. There's a lot of fat in there, so I kind of want it to be bigger because I know that fat's gonna extract and the patty's gonna shrink a bit. You can also use the parchment paper, use your thumb to sort of shape it. That's a fat burger. I'm just gonna let these chill in the fridge, firm back up, while I get the griddle preheated. So now for our cheese sauce, I've got a pot and I've just filled it up like a quarter of the way, just a little bit of water on the bottom. I'm gonna create a double boiler. So I'm gonna bring that water up to temperature, get it to a nice simmer on low. We're just gonna place a bowl on top. That's where we're gonna make our cheese sauce. And of course, we're serving it on a sizzle platter. We're gonna get this piping hot, pour the cheese sauce on it, serve our burgers. Pretty genius. So to our double boiler setup, we're going to add in that milk. Then we're gonna take our Dijon and we're gonna stir in a nice hefty tablespoon of that. I want that flavor present, but not overwhelming. Now, as the milk warms up, we're gonna begin to add the cheeses in small batches, whisking and melting it into the milk slowly. After a couple of batches, as that cheese starts to melt and incorporate into the milk, we can start to add bigger batches at a time, larger quantities of the cheese, until all of that cheese is in there and melted. Now it's time to judge the consistency. We really don't want that cheese sauce to be super duper thick. We're gonna be adding it to the sizzle platter, so if it's too thick, it's gonna kind of clump up immediately. So we wanna sort of adjust the consistency with a little bit of milk. I'm looking for this cheese sauce to be a little bit looser, to sort of flow a bit more, rather than that thick sauce it started at once we added all of the cheese. We're not looking for it to be watery, still thick, with a bit more flow to it. It should rapidly run off the whisk while also coating it. To me, that looks perfect. We're gonna keep that warm while we cook our burger. Now, before the burger goes on, we can get our sizzle platter hot. Now, this is an important note. I do not recommend heating the sizzle platter the way that I'm about to show you. This is for vanity, this is for the internet. The heat will degrade that perfect cheese sauce we just made, so I actually recommend warming it up to around 150, 160 degrees, which is gonna keep the cheese sauce integrity intact, while also keeping the cheese warmer longer. First, we want to toast our buns, so we're just going to get it on there, and once it's browned, we're going to pull it off and set it on the resting rack. Once the pan is up to temperature, I'm going to spray a little bit of sprayable beef wagyu, just for a little grease on the surface. Season our burger generously, and then place it salted side down on the griddle. And if you have a burger press, you want to place it on top right now and gently press down to ensure that the surface of the meat makes contact with the griddle. But you're not pressing it like a smash burger. We're going to be using a 2-2-2 cooking method for this burger. We're gonna allow it to cook on that first side for 2 minutes on real hot heat. Once you see a nice crust forming below, we're gonna flip it and cook it for another 2 minutes on that other side. Then we're gonna remove it and we're gonna place it on the wire rack and we're gonna rest it for 2 minutes. This sort of limits the amount of intense heat we're gonna give the burger at any given time and include a period of rest in between those searing periods. Almost like an intermittent carryover cooking. After 2 minutes of rest, we're gonna repeat the whole process again. A 2-minute sear on one side, flip, a 2-minute sear on the other, and then this time we're gonna add a little slice of cheese, just as a little bit of glue to keep it together, and then a little bit of the caramelized onions. And I'm gonna give it a spot check for the internal temp. It says 110, and I wanna pull this around 130 before I carry over cook it. So I'll let it go until it hits 130 and then transfer it to the back on the wire rack for one final rest. And we're gonna allow it to carry over cook till the internal temp is around 145 for a nice medium burger, which is how I like it. Now we're just gonna place the burger on the bun, top it off, and slice it in half. And now we can wrap it all up. We're gonna place our way too hot sizzle platter on its wooden base, and we're gonna pour in about 2 ladles of the cheese sauce. Again, I recommend it being warm, not sizzling, unless you want the spectacle. Then place the burgers cut side down in the cheese sauce. And then we're gonna garnish it with bacon bits, some of the caramelized onions, and a generous sprinkle of the chopped chives. Burger is a nice medium, how I like it. It's flavorful, it's juicy. The cheese sauce got all those goodies in it, and that Dijon is really subtle in the background. All around, beautiful thing. That's the sizzling cheeseburger. If you wanna make it, the recipe's gonna be down in the description. I urge you to check out my new cooking school over on Patreon. 2 lessons a month, building an awesome little fun community, chats for different purposes, live streams to go over the homework that I give you. It's what you like about this, but dialed up and way deeper and connected to me. Link to that's gonna be down in the description. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.